Hey everyone, welcome to a bit of a weird video for this channel. I was originally going to post this on my main channel and then I decided to post it on this one instead, and I'll link the main channel to this. So if you're here from my main channel, welcome to the Project Car channel. Be sure to check out all of the videos on this channel. There are tons of them on this Infiniti, and I figured that today what we would do is kind of give an end of the year wrap up as to what happened over the course of this year with my Infiniti G35 Coupe, which is what you're looking at right in front of you now, right next to my face. So I've got this set up to be able to show you the numbers and also the pictures. So we're going to go through the pictures, we're going to discuss how things went, and this may end up being very long and very talkative on my part. I do like to talk, apparently. This channel, most of all, is just full of me talking, so yeah, let's get into it. You're probably used to that by now. So this is my previous, because it's gone now, hint hint, Infiniti G35. It was a 2004 G35 Coupe, one of the more premium ones. It didn't have Brembos, but it had the navigation and such, which proved to be a good thing because I was able to sell it. I mean those parts in particular. Now I bought this car in January, I think, of this year, sometime around there. It depends on when this photo is from, but this is one of the first days that I even had the thing, and I was taking pictures of it because, to be honest with you, I really like Infiniti G35s. I mean, at one point, in fact, for this entire year, I've had two of them. There's another one off in the corner there next to the RAV4 if you're looking. And I thought, in my infinite wisdom, that now that I had a house and well, at this point I was married as well. I got married to my wife in January of this year too, so it was a very big year, and I was like, man, I'm gonna check off every single one of my goals in life, and the next one was to get a project car, so that's exactly what I decided to do. Now, as you're looking at the car here, it doesn't look too bad, but there are a few things to notice. One, there's some fitment issues with the car there. You can see that this is off on the door, and like it's overall very dirty, obviously, and the dirtiness of the car and the fact that it was a very snowy like week that I bought it in made it so that it was very difficult to actually see the true sides of this vehicle. Now the thing is, I would absolutely, if I came up to a good opportunity, I would buy another G35, but I have several requirements of it that I didn't consider back in the early days that I would look for now, and one of them is cleanliness, especially underneath. So without getting too far into things, let's just take a look at some of the pictures I have. I have over 100 of them to show you. I won't show you all of them though, just because it'll be quite boring, but let's just click through once I zoom out. So just more pictures of the car. Again, you can see my other Infiniti G35 in the back. I took a lot of pictures of the car on the first day. I was very excited. There's me back before I knew what was happening. Back before I knew how far things would go. Okay, here's another issue with the car that is quite plain to see. The bumper is cracked. Basically how this went was that all of this stuff slowly added up to me ending up parting the car, but we'll get into the numbers once we get into that with the pictures in the story. So there's the car in the garage. It's been a long time since I looked at these pictures, and I kind of forgot about this thing down here, but I remember that was really funny when I first saw it, and I hadn't even noticed when I originally bought the car, so genius on my part. Oh yeah, so I installed some lights in my garage specifically so I could work on this car, and that's what it looked like. Making fun of twin turbos here by putting a Lexus symbol on the grill of my car because he has a Lexus, or at least he had a Lexus, and I was gunning to go against him with my hopped up Infiniti, but obviously it was not meant to be. So the car came with an extra bumper. You can see from here to here the color is different. This one is like a silver, and the car itself is a gray car. So I decided to take off the previous bumper and test fit this one because this one was not cracked. But it would have looked pretty jank with a different bumper on it, so I didn't end up putting that on there permanently. So this is where I got a bit of a taste of tearing down the car. Taking off the front bumper was no easy task, but it was the first thing of many that I took off the car, and the first sort of step into the waters a little bit. Same thing here. and that's what the front foam looked like. I had to duct tape it back together. It kind of indicates that the car might have been in a bit of a small accident at some point, but obviously that would never have been recorded. So this is a big picture right here because well, for one, I had to trim the heck out of it. You can see I put some plate covers on the car, and I drove it to a shop which was really bad because it didn't have plates, it didn't have insurance, and I am a bad person overall. I decided that I wanted to see what it would take for it to get a safety, so I just went to a local shop. I said, hey, can you do a safety on it? And they did a safety, and it drastically failed. And this was the turning point in the build for me, where I went in with a lot of enthusiasm, and I had this whole dream. I'm very much a dreamer, so I had this whole idea of what I wanted to do. I was looking at like turbo kits and superchargers and stuff. I was like, man, I'm gonna get deep into this manual swap and all that. And then my dreams were absolutely crushed. This was very early in the morning. I had to drop the car off before work, which was interesting because the battery was totally gone at that point, because it had been sitting. And now that same battery is in my other Infiniti, and that Infiniti is dead too. So brilliant stuff. So this is when I got the car back from the shop, and I remember I did a video, pretty heartfelt video, I think, where I was kind of just like, man, I am disappointed. And these are the pictures of the rust in question. Now, honestly, looking back at it, there is a pretty good chance that I could have found the pieces to fix this car, but at this point, I had basically given up on that hope, and I had decided that this was going to be it, that I was going to be parting out the car because of the damages that were underneath it, and just the overall condition of the car was not great. It's like if you're going to start a project, I know it makes a lot of sense, at least initially, to buy something cheap because you save money to put upgrades on it or whatever, but the thing is, you need to start with a good solid base. So it's almost better to buy a really clean G35 as an example as your project base, because otherwise you're going to run into issues that you wouldn't have or you're going to run into issues that you would run into if you bought a crap box like this and then you needed to do your upgrades on this one. Like, the initial cost of getting all this stuff done was way outside of my budget at that point, and I decided I just wanted to recoup what I had spent, which up to this point was 3,000 Canadian dollars, quite a bit. So this is the oil pan from the engine. You can see it's got a little bit of drippage on the well, just a tiny bit of drippage on the bolt that's in there, and I wasn't really sure what that like, I never did an oil change on this car. I am not still sure what is causing that, but it probably just needs a new plug. So this is a funny picture. I'm not sure if I ever told anybody about this, but I had to break into the car because his battery died, and I left the key in it by accident. So thankfully, the door was a little bit shaky, and I managed to boost the car with my other car to give it power, reach that thing down in there, press the unlock button, and get in. So a little bit sketchy breaking into your own car, but it was an interesting experience. Okay, so here is the parts that came with the car as an extra. I had an extra AC compressor, well, this was an extra, I just took it off, extra headers, and the extra front bumper as well. But this is the day that I decided that I was going to sell all this stuff from the car. It looked like a very nice day as we're coming into spring at this point, I would think. So let's transition over to the budget, and let me show you how things went. Okay, so you're looking at my spreadsheet right now. This is the spreadsheet that I kept to basically keep track of how much money I made back on the car, and also how much I was asking for car parts versus how much I actually received for them. So you can see, if we scroll down to the total, I'm spoiling things in advance, but roughly I was expecting, based on my listing prices and of the items that I thought I would be able to sell, I was expecting to get maybe $4,500, $4,600, something like that. So I knew that I was going to be able to get more than what I had spent. And in the end, so far up to this day, I have received $3,160, and that does not include any donations from you guys, although there were a few donations on behalf of this project, and that does not include the change that I found in the car either. So this is just raw parts money back, and most of it was cash. So pretty happy about that. Things like the ECU, as an example, I'm just going to delete that row because I ended up selling it with the engine, so it's not even a factor. But yeah, let's go through some of the stuff, some of the notable items, and we'll just kind of see what you guys think of my prices. Everything here is in Canadian dollars, and you probably saw the condition of the car, so it's not the most beautiful vehicle at this point. The extra front bumper, I ended up selling it for 75 bucks. And headlights, even though they were pretty worn, I polished them up. I sold them for 125. Doors and stuff, they're worth a lot of money. Like I was asking 200 bucks for these doors. I got 200 and 150 for the doors, which is crazy. I have a lot of random stories from people actually coming to pick up these parts. Like I live pretty far north of Toronto these days, but I used to live closer to Toronto. But anyway, so people would come up from Toronto, which is quite a drive, to come and get parts, and they would just not come prepared in the slightest. So I had one guy come to pick up a door. I think it was the $150 driver's door, and he came with a G35 Coupe to pick up a G35 Coupe door, and it barely fit. Like it was shockingly close to not fitting in the car. So that was interesting. Another time when a guy came from a town near here, thankfully, he was driving a 370Z to pick up the other door, and yeah, that was interesting. So the 370Z is a hatchback, and we had to really maneuver that door into the car. The funny part was that he brought his girlfriend too, so he had his girlfriend, who was thankfully fairly small, sit with the seat all the way forwards, all the way hunched forwards too, and then that was the only way to get the door into a 370Z. So like, if you're going to pick up big stuff, make sure you bring a car that's actually going to be able to do it. So that's kind of, yeah, just be careful. Don't risk your girlfriend's head over something like this. It's not worth it. But some of the parts were quite nice. I sold the trunk lid to an older couple who wanted to, the lady wanted to get a spoiler for her car. She had a G35, and she's like, hey, I'm going to force my husband to buy me an entire trunk lid and then install it. So he paid full price for that. And yeah, I got some pictures back of the car with that lid on there, and it looks great. So it's cool that the parts of the car ended up finding new life, I guess, in different vehicles. Like, if you think about it, there are cars driving around right now with fenders from my car, with bumpers from my car, with like hinges and lights from my car. It's very fun to think about stuff like that. But in the end, some of the big ticket items, the car had a Metro dash kit, which is a big thing for these Infinitis. I ended up getting 175 bucks for it, which was great. And things like that are a big part of why it was even able to be, like, even why I was able to make profit in the first place. I got 500 bucks for the cats. I was hoping for 8, but the industry kind of took a bit of a downturn. But anyway, I was happy with that. 300 bucks for the engine, 150 for the trans, and then 100 for the shell. So overall, not too bad. Also included in this total is $200 for Tiburon winter tires. So without that, I'm actually at a deficit. But I sold those on behalf of this project, so that's kind of where that is. In the end, these are just the things that I've sold, all this stuff in green, everything that has a price, and there are the totals for you. $3,160 out of my $3,000 goal. So in the end, after a year of work, I made $160. But it's more about the memories that I got doing it, right? Like, that's more important. So yeah, overall, not financially worth it, but definitely worth it in terms of skill, in terms of practice, in terms of confidence working on cars. This was incredibly important to my growth, I think. So I know it's been 15 minutes, at least in the recording it's been 15 minutes. I'll try to cut it down a little bit for you, but let's skip through and get to some stuff. So here's more pictures of rust, because the first pictures were not enough. So that is the rear lower subframe, pretty far gone. Honestly, it definitely needed to be replaced. The exhaust was hacked together. Man, oh man. I ended up giving away all of the exhaust pipe stuff that wasn't the cats with the shell because I just wanted it gone. Look at the rust on that. It is just gone. More pictures of the other carriage. You can see the rockers were pretty well gone, and this is early on. By the end of the year, sitting in my garage, these were just falling apart. Like, I don't know what was going on other than maybe just moisture in the garage, but the rockers were done. And this was particularly bad and something that scared me quite a bit because this is holy. That thing is falling apart there, and that's not safe in the slightest. There's the other side, not quite as bad, but man, I was gonna have to replace a lot of stuff in order to get it back on the road. Same thing there. I mean, that's just a piece of metal under the car. It's not exactly load bearing, but around the gas tank, you kind of want the metal to be not so holy, so not ideal. Obviously, the car had other issues. I took pictures like this specifically so when I would sell the hood, that I could show that there was some paint missing that had been touched up. The hood was not in the best shape, and that's why it was the last big body panel to go. Rust on the fenders. The fenders weren't actually too bad on this car, thankfully. I was able to sell them for, at least the front ones, for a decent amount. Enter the Tibron. As you can see, it's over there on the left side of this picture. That is my replacement for this car, and it is also now my replacement for my other Infiniti. The Tibron was initially stated to be a replacement project car, but now it's my daily because the manual transmission, I've been trying to really lock it down. I haven't had to drive anywhere for 2 months because I've been off from work, but I'll be going back to work next week, so I'm going to be driving more manual again. But the thing is, and the future plans, I'll talk about a little bit more at the end of this video, but the Tibron is still my project car, but it's also a daily, which is a mistake, but it's okay. We will eventually have another car in the driveway, but probably not until the end of this year. At least until the end of this year. That's what I've told my wife, at least. We'll see how things go. So what I did here, and I'll just kind of flip through these pictures, was I took a bunch of pictures of the car to kind of give its before state. Before I started taking all of the parts that I just showed you off, I wanted to catalog what the car looked like with everything still on. So that's what this is. And these are the last pictures that I have of the car in its complete state. You can see those back seats are pretty grungy. I still have them actually, so I was thinking of maybe making a bench because nobody seems to want them. Even for $50, it's apparently not enough. But yeah, doors. The interior carpet was gross as heck. There's that Metro kit in there too. The seats weren't in the best of shape, but I did actually get a decent amount of money for them, as you saw in the spreadsheet. And yeah, closer look at the stereo. Very important part of the puzzle there because those things are worth a lot. The car had 264,281 kilometers on it, and that's as high as she got. But I've been rounding it up in ads to like 265 because it just makes sense. You notice that quarter tank of gas too. I probably should have run that a little lower before I axed the car, to be honest with you, but yeah, in the end I ended up pumping it out, which was a whole ordeal. You can definitely watch the video of that. So the start of the disassembly, I started doing the parts that I know how to do, including tearing down the entire front dashboard of the car because I had experience doing that from my other Infiniti, and that date on there is incorrect. It was not 2019. That thing just reset constantly as a piece of garbage stereo, and I'm very happy that it's gone. But I actually still have that shifter and that Geek Squad stuff, although I don't know what I'm going to do with it, to be fully honest with you. Some of these pictures were taken for thumbnails. This is one of those ones. You can see that I am taking off the lower part of the dashboard and the driver's side, and the trunk here is bare. That was fairly easy to do. I actually sold the spare tire for $50, but I had to deliver it. But overall, like, I don't know, these were some parts that I ended up putting up for sale, although I still have all of them. Stuff like this is difficult to sell unless you're selling it on eBay, as far as I am aware. But as you can see, the car is getting further and further down. There was a bit of a blitz, I think, at the beginning where I was just able to rip a whole bunch of stuff off the car. And then after a while, it started to get slower and slower. And then I was doing a little bit here and there every weekend. But again, you'll just have to look at the other videos to see the timeline. But we're going to take a massive time skip soon. As you can see, things are getting low, but there was a point when I kind of stopped taking pictures, I guess, because the car is just getting further and further apart, and I ended up bringing it back outside in the summer. It looks pretty darn good in this current state. But you can see most of the body panels are missing at this point. The sunroof is out. There's only a seat in the car, and I was thinking at this point that I might try and run it in a rally or something, or like an ice race or something dumb, but I never ended up doing that, and I decided just to cleanly get rid of it all. And so that's what this is here for. This was my test to see if it would actually work in its current state, and it did. It definitely worked. I drove up and down the street with a car that has no doors. Kind of a big mistake in my neighborhood, but not too worried about it. Man, oh man, it's fun to look back at these photos to see some things long past, because here is the big jump in time. We go from fully complete engine, kind of just torn down a little bit, to, oh goodness, there's no front on the car anymore. The front has fallen off, and it is, well, it's only going to get worse from here, because this is kind of the time when I was laid off from my previous job, and I managed to get a ton of work done, including the removal of the engine. Backing the car out of the garage with the engine still sitting in one place was a huge milestone. Getting a hoist meant that I could do this, and this, and this. Removal of the transmission from the engine, although ultimately I didn't actually need to do that. I thought I would sell them separately, and yeah, I sold them at the same time to the same guy, so that was pointless. But there's what the transmission looks like. That's an automatic transmission out of a G35. And I also pulled the car out of the garage using my sedan Infiniti, which was funny and also kind of pointless, but I ended up getting a technique down where I could push it out of the garage myself, but that was after I already did this. You can kind of see the stark contrast between these pictures, these are the pictures that I posted of the car originally when I put it up for scrap value, basically. So these are not very old pictures, actually, just a couple of weeks, but you can see the change in the car. There is not much left in there, but this is how it was supposed to go. And there's the front end, just completely empty, except for the subframe at the front. I decided to throw that in there, although that is a particularly valuable piece, especially in decent condition, because it made the wheels run straight, and the guy needed it for the trailer, which ended up getting stuck in my driveway. But that is another explanation for some older videos. But yeah, I was, I guess, successful at pulling basically everything off the car, because this is the kind of the state that it was in when I finally let it go. So there you go. That's the car being towed away, and that actually is the start of the story, where the car ended up getting stuck in my driveway for another 2 nights because that guy's truck broke down. But in the end, he took it away, and that was it. The show was gone. The engine remained, and these parts remained as well. Most of these parts still remain. But this is what the garage looked like as of pre-engine removal, and I believe that that's the last picture I have. Now, if we're looking at this, the engine is gone, the crane is folded, this whole shelf here is clear because of the parts that have been missing. But again, you'll see some of this stuff coming up in future videos. I don't think I have anything more for you this year, but next year, cool stuff coming up. So that is your recap for all of the stuff that kind of happened over the course of this year with my project Infiniti. It's been 25 or 26 minutes of recording, hopefully less in terms of the actual edit, but hopefully you enjoyed this series. Let me know what you thought of it. Obviously, the Infiniti updates are done. This is the very last one because the Infiniti stuff is finished. So now I don't have any project cars, I guess. I still have my sedan Infiniti, although it is for sale. And I still have my Tiburon, although it doesn't really need any work or anything at the moment. So we're kind of just in a state of limbo as I work on some of my side projects. With that in mind, I have a go-kart project on the go, and that's kind of what I'm working on at the moment, although I haven't been in the garage for like a week. I've been busy with Christmas and stuff, and just being lazy, and decided to take a bit of a break from the garage since I've been going so hard on the Coupe Infiniti to get it gone. But I'll be back out there soon, probably today actually, to reorganize and get some more work done. But man, oh man, from my family to yours, Happy New Year and Merry Christmas as well, although this is a little bit late on the old Christmas bandwagon. I'm just very happy that that you guys have stuck around for the course of this on the Bright Hill channel, second channel from the main channel, because I kind of thought branching it off was a good idea. Ultimately, not really, but it's fine. I kind of like being able to post just whatever I want on the second channel and not worrying too much about it. Like the second channel has no ads, has no revenue source, so it's just me posting for fun, and that's kind of what you're seeing now. Thank you guys for your support. Please, if you're interested in this stuff, continue to watch it, and hopefully you're watching the main channel stuff too. I'll see you again soon with some go-kart update things, and we'll see how long I can last without buying another car. And once I start working again, we'll see. My wife is going to be so unhappy with me, but that's okay. It's kind of just part of the deal. No, it's not. I'm going to run now. I'll see you again soon. Bye.